What about removed trees? So, what sort of impact can they have if on the house slab if that tree has been removed?
For sure. I'll give you a couple of different examples. So, if you've got a brand new estate, that estate might have been a paddock, and in that paddock might have been a tree. So, the developer, as part of developing the estate, removed that tree. Um, then that tree would be considered for up to 2 years and possibly longer by the engineer when they're considering the slab design. So, that removed tree, although you don't even know it was there, they'll go back through satellite imagery and see that it was there and go, hold on, there was a tree there. It was only a year ago that it was removed. We need to make consideration around your slab for potential slab movement due to that tree being there. So, what happens is when that tree is first removed, the soil remains fairly dry, right? And that's just natural for that area. It can be what we call hydrophobic because it's been drawing all the moisture out. It doesn't allow water in, so the water just runs off, meaning that the soil repels water. Often the ground at that stage is retracting, it's shrinking, right? So because that's the natural, drying out is that shrinking sort of scenario. If you dig the roots out, obviously, then naturally you've got a hole there that again is going to need to be filled, and that often will shrink as well as that beds down and becomes more hard over time. Then you look at sort of that progression from there. There's still tree roots left in the ground. They're now dead. They begin to rot. As they begin to rot, um, what actually happens is the soil itself starts to take in that water, right? Because it's got microorganisms breaking down all of those tree roots. That's becoming organic matter. The organic matter starts to hold moisture. That moisture then causes swelling, right? This is when the problems start to happen, essentially. And that's the bit that the engineers are worried about is when the swelling's happening. And when that happens, that's what causes things like slab heave, and that's a real issue for your slab. So we don't want to be in that position. And as I mentioned, a tree being removed could be an issue for up to a couple of years. The other part is if your neighbour chops down a tree, so you're here, they've had a house there for a while, they chop down a tree, that can have an impact on your home. So, there's so many of these considering factors with trees. And that's not talking about, for example, if you're in a knockdown rebuild area and the council may say you can't knock down that tree, it's significant to the area. You need a permit, to protect the tree. You've got tree protection works to put in. So there's a whole lot of other stuff that can happen depending on your type of build that needs to be considered. You also see people going, well, I've got this whopping big tree on my block and I want to build right up next to it because the house will shade, it'll be amazing. And you're right, all those things will be amazing except for the impact it has on the slab of the home. So again, from a builder point of view, you want to be away from the trees.
Yeah, quite interesting.